Okay, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the series of webinars by the Cordillera Textile Project. We are pleased to have with us our special guest for today, Architect Edric Ong and Ms. Manjari Narula from India, and Sir Edric is from Malaysia. So today, we will have this talk on learning about ties that bind, learning about IKAT and the World IKAT Textile Symposium happening in Baguio City on December 3 to 6 at the Baguio Convention Center. So we would like to welcome our speakers for today. Sir Edric, good morning. And of course, Manjari Nirula from India. They are the advisors of the ASEAN Handicraft Promotion and Development Association, or the AFADA, and the World Crafts Council of the Asia Pacific region. So they have been our key movers in the World IKAT Textile Symposium, and it's now on its sixth reiteration in the Philippines and in Baguio City at the UNESCO Creative City for Folk and the Arts. So WITS started in 2016 in London. It went to India, Thailand, Malaysia, Indonesia. I think that's it. And then there's a lull during the COVID 2020, but it has resumed again this World IKAT Textile Symposium. So we are all excited in Baguio, and the audience will be coming from different places from the Philippines and around the world. So without further ado, would like to welcome Sir Edric Ong to talk about IKAT and the World IKAT Textile Symposium. And of course, Ma'am Manjari. Okay.
Hi, hello. Hope you can see
Good
me.
morning.
Hi. Good morning, Dr. Annalyn and Manju. Good to see you. And well, it's very exciting to be in this few days leading up to WITS in Baguio, and we are really very excited that we have, if you like, uh, crank up the engine again for this series of the World IKAT Textile Symposium after it has been dormant because of COVID-19. But we are also very excited because the response from the invited speakers that we recommended to come from all over the world have been overwhelming, I think, Dr. Annalyn. And I'm very glad that we've got very good attendance as well from different corners of the world coming to Baguio. Many people have not been to the Philippines, even though we are so near in Malaysia. Some of my official delegates from the Sarawak Ministry of Tourism, they have never been to Philippines. So this will be a good exposure for them and also a good time for networking, I think, among not only our ASEAN countries, but also our Asian countries, and of course, in the global network. As you have just explained, we call it World IKAT Textiles Symposium, and the byline is Ties That Bind. Ties That Bind refers to not only the physical technique of executing IKAT. IKAT in the Malay language actually means to tie, because the creation of the patterns, as you can see behind me, which is IBAN IKAT Textiles, which is done on the WAP, is that IKAT is created on the thread. The patterns are resist tied on the threads, either WAP threads, which is the vertical threads, or the weft threads, which are the horizontal threads. And so the patterns are meticulously and exactly tied into the threads before it is actually woven on the loom. So the whole concept of IKAT, how it originated, is very much up to speculation. Many people want to claim ownership of the origin of the technique, but I think that as the late Madame Jocelyn Damija, my guru of textiles and culture from India, when we had the first World IKAT Textiles forum in Kuching, Web Forum, she said that do not underestimate the ingenuity of humanity in all corners of the world. IKAT could have simultaneously been, what do you call it, started at different corners of the world. That's why you find it spread all over the 5 continents of the globe. So we are very happy that Manjari, myself, Elaine, and Dr. Annalyn, in coming together to curate the World IKAT Textiles exhibition in Baguio, that we are able to gather together examples of IKAT from all 5 continents of the world. So it's spread all over, and it's going to be very exciting that they again converge together, if you like, in Baguio at this point of time when we have WITS Baguio happening. And the exhibition, I believe, is at the Baguio Convention Center. So as I just explained, IKAT, you have WAP IKAT, which is done on the vertical threads of the textile, weft IKAT, which is done on the horizontal threads. And then you have the very special technique of double IKAT, whereby patterns are created on the vertical and the horizontal so that the patterns, when they crisscross, they match. And that is the expertise of a few communities in India, in Japan, and in certain other corners of the world that double IKAT. For example, in Tenganan, in Bali, where this is also practiced. So we have very beautiful examples of this that will be exhibited. And also one of the descendants of the 35th generation of Patola Ikat weaving from India, Rahul Sarvi, will also be coming to the WITS Baguio. So thank you very much for just giving this little introduction.
Wow, fantastic. So, Manjari, would you like to say something about the IKAT, the World IKAT Textile Symposium? How it started? Maybe we can talk about why IKAT, and then why it became traveling exhibition and a traveling symposium. How did it started?
Muted, Manju. Cannot hear you.
So Manju is currently in Singapore right now, so we have a different same time zone, I guess. Okay. So while waiting for Manju, maybe Sir Edric, you can talk about
Still cannot,
why.
no sound. Yes.
Can you hear me? Okay, so this is live. So meantime, maybe you can tell us about the history of this WITS, how it started, and what was the initial objective of the WITS.
Well, it's okay, Manju is on.
Okay.
Okay. Hi, Manju. Okay, I was just asking, why IKAT and how did the WIT started? What were your motivations and the objectives now for studying and this interest on IKAT, and eventually it became the World IKAT Textile Symposium?
So, Edric and I both dreamt about it. It was, like the poor Kumbu weavers, it was a dream of ours that we should do something like this. And it started in 2016 at the Brunei Gallery at the SOAS, and then it spread to the other places which I described just now. And the idea of doing it was that there was such IKAT is a whimsical and colorful, imparting a jolt of energy into interiors. IKAT fabric is handmade using the ancient Indonesian technique of resist dyeing yarns prior to weaving them to create a distinct dynamic effect. While original, authentic IKAT dates back to 5,000 years, today the term IKAT often is used to describe the pattern that's created via the IKAT process, a blurred effect that's employed in textiles such as upholstery, bed, table linens, and window treatments, as well as the lampshades and wall coverings. But what exactly is IKAT? Why is it special? And what are the best applications for IKAT in 2024? So we wanted to do this in 2016 and bring to the world this very, very, what do you call it? The very, very specialized sort of material that was used. So it's interesting how the history dating back to prehistoric times, the cultural evolution of IKAT from Central Asia, North Africa, South America, and Europe, before finally being brought to Western civilizations, and how IKAT patterns were made. So, since technical IKATs are hand-dyed and hand-woven, there is a lot of human thought and touch that has gone into each and every one. Their irregularity makes them interesting and very visually soft focus to look at. Although IKAT's popularity has ebbed and flowed throughout the centuries, traditionally IKAT was a way to demonstrate wealth, because the IKAT process is so time-consuming and extremely skill-intensive, all done by hand. Only the most affluent could afford IKAT, the IKAT textiles crafted using this technique. The traditional IKAT was used for ritualistic occasions, meaningful ceremonies like weddings and funerals, and the status of the person with the IKAT was denoted by the quality of the IKAT. The higher the status, the more rich and intricate it was. It's said that when done via the traditional method, IKAT to take a year or two to complete. And when done commercially via modern technology, a simple IKAT textile can be complicated in a day. And to bring all these nuances of IKAT into into the world, Edric and I decided that we should bring it into an exhibition. And the initial exhibition had, say, about 200 specimens of IKAT from all over the world, and including ribbons made in France, which were done in IKAT. So there were all kinds of ways of doing this. And tell me, any other? I can't hear.
In the first exhibition of the World IKAT Textile Symposium, was there a Philippine specimen or a textile included in the exhibition, and where did it came from?
Okay. I think that from the onset, because of our association with NADAS, even at that time, NADAS was still alive, and then we had specimens from her, including her innovative works of what we call Songkat, which is the crossover between Songkit and IKAT, right? And
Okay.
also we had from Dr. David Baradas at that time, also samples of IKAT from the other regions of Philippines. And from our friend Alfonso Ginoo from Davao, we had samples of Tinalak from the peoples of the South. So Philippines was very well represented, and people know about your special weaving, especially using banana fiber, the abaca, for the southern IKATs.
Yeah, so for this WITS 2024 exhibition, we are highlighting the Philippine IKAT. So we're covering also Luzon IKAT weaving communities from Ifugao, Isinay, and of course in other mountain province areas. They used to have IKAT, but it's already extant. But we have some samples of that. And also towards southern Mindanao, which includes the Bilaan group, the Tiboli, the Bagobo, Tagabawa, Iranun. And there are also other groups in Zamboanga, some samples. And the oldest IKAT textile found in the Philippines is from the Banton Island, or what you call as the Banton cloth. I'm not sure if you agree if this is the oldest in Southeast Asia. Would you agree, or if there are older samples from India or in Indonesia?
Well,
Yes, as a matter of fact, the oldest IKATs that you have from India go back 5,000 years. From the 2nd century to about the 5th century, in the Ajanta and Ellora caves, you find these specimens. So yes, I would imagine it is older, but
Okay.
that's not to hog up any importance from what you are doing. But the reason why we are in the Philippines is because we want to showcase in a bigger, a better way what the Philippines IKAT is all about. And I think
Yeah.
Edric and I were both very keen that that should be done because there's such a, through NADA and through David Baradas, like Edric said, we were exposed to some of this. And also the way that you've used the IKAT in different materials is way different from what has been used in, say, India, for example, you know, where we have all 3 types of IKAT, which is a single IKAT, the double IKAT, and in 3 different areas of India. So, which will be at the exhibition.
Fantastic. Yeah. Thank you so much, Manju. And also, aside from that, we are also looking at our national living treasures, or what you call as Gawad ng Manlilikha ng Bayan, or the Gamaba master weavers. They are honored because of their artistry and ingenuity in producing their own ikat. So we have the Mandaya group. I'm not sure if you have encountered this particular group in Southern Mindanao, but they are also one of the oldest, and also from Bilaan, Bagobo, and of course Tiboli is always there. They have maybe 3 of our national living treasures on ikat weaving. So in this WITS, what do we expect? Like the content of the symposium, and also other things that you would like to comment on the WITS symposium. So for now, we have 32 speakers around the world.
oh, that's
And we have 7 panels altogether in the symposium, and I'm sure you will be talking in this platform as well. No, what do you think about the content, and can you tell us more about it? Is it the same with the WITS in the previous and the WITS of 2024?
I think it's very exciting because every time the World IKAT Textile Symposium moves from country to country, we've always asked the host country to pick on a theme or a subtitle that would be in keeping with what the current needs are, the current focus of the country is, as far as bringing the practice of IKAT into the future. And apart from drawing attention to what is already there, what is the traditional practice, but we are also interested in what are the current practitioners doing and what are the innovation that's going on, because I think that in order for the IKAT textile to survive in any country or in any way for the market, it has to be innovated. There has to be a contemporary expression to it. And I think that like even in the traditional sense, like our Kwakumbu Ikat weaver, they have been known like they are Filipino weavers. They are called dream weavers, but they all have also new dreams and new inspiration. And it's exciting to see what these new dreams come up with, the patterns that they have now injected into their contemporary ikat textiles.
Yeah.
Also, to add another aspect to it, IKAT has been used to manifest religion in the past. It symbolizes political ambitions, and now it is a fashion craze. And my co-curator, Edric, is a big promoter of that. And when you see his fashion, it is so reflective of the traditional weaves of Malaysia, of Sarawak, which he represents through his fashion. So I think it is, like in the first symposium, which was held in London, the symposium was called the IKAT, its past, its present, and its future. And I think this exhibition, in a very concentrated way, is always talking about that and always seeing how this is going to be further expanded to stay relevant in the world today.
Yeah, so in staying relevant, of course, there are challenges in the IKAT weaving communities and craft organizations on the revitalization of the IKAT. In your WITS, previous WITS and work with the communities, with the artisans, did you see any challenges on the IKAT or in the revitalization of such? Because of commercial trends coming in, and of course fashion, do we gain meaning and lose others at the same time? What do you think about that?
Um, what's interesting is that, take for example, the Uzbek very big motif and colorful ikat that they call the rainbow ikat, right? So this is the ikat that is very much focused in the fashion and contemporary interior design because they are very exposed. And when you get international fashion designers or interior designers start to be involved in commissioning works and taking works from your traditional ikat expression into the modern fashion, modern interiors, then what they call design intervention comes in, external influences on colors and on patterns. And in the case of what I've seen in Uzbekistan, in Magellan, where is the center of ikat weaving in Uzbekistan, they have also upgraded their technique to make it something that they can produce faster and in a way with better, greater yardage, if you like. There have to be that kind of quality control in terms of dyeing, in terms of tying. So, of course, we say that in the traditional aspect, there are shortcuts taken. But these shortcuts, they say, is innovation. It is technical innovation so that they can, instead of just tying the patterns and deep dyeing them, they brush on the colors onto the threads. So that kind of innovation of technique comes in. So there's always that quarrel between the traditionalists and the innovators to say that, oh, no, 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 you are polluting or you are actually deflecting from the origins of the technique. So there's all this debate going on, and which is interesting to hear people, who are involved in the ikat world, if you like, debating about such issues.
Also, Edric, I just want to remind us all that, one of the IKATs, one of course is the IKAT done by Rahul Salvi's family, which is the story about the elephant, which is part of the procession. But more importantly, I think, is the one done by the Telia Rumal done by Gajam Govardhana. It is amazing. So many beautiful motifs which are very contemporary. I mean, for example, in the motif, there is a clock, there is an aeroplane. There are those kind of elements which he's also put into a very large piece which will be there at the exhibition. So,
Yeah.
that kind of contemporary expressions are also now creeping into the we
Fashion.
by the traditional weavers in traditional textiles.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I have a few examples here.
Yeah. Show
Actually,
and tell.
these are going to Baguio. So before I put them in the suitcase, I thought that I will bring some out to show you. Um, Stressing on the point of, for example, some traditional works. This is a very beautiful chapan, which is from Uzbekistan, right? Can you see? All right. and how it is then combined with other techniques of embroidery to create into a robe, a traditional robe. So this is maybe about 60, 80 years old or more,
Wow.
right? But we also have some contemporary versions, which is more bold and colorful, which we will be bringing. But talk about contemporary, then you say like, for example, in Thailand, there is chabatik, which makes this double ikat, but in a contemporary palette, right? And so this is computer-aided design. The designer of this pattern, she is a professor in Silpakorn University. So she makes the patterns, she prints them out, she brings them to the village, and the villagers interpret them and make them into this contemporary double ikat in 4-ply Thai silk. All right.
Amazing. Yeah.
So then you have, for example, talking about contemporary, but even among the Japanese have again been very progressive with their IKAT to create this blur effect during the Meiji restoration, right? So they have also devised methods in which they can create patterns like this, which is, if you like, a very innovative technique. This
Mhm.
is one of the exhibits. On the other hand, we've forgotten that Europe actually also had IKAT. And so this is like blue denim, but this is from France.
Wow, amazing.
So when we were putting together this exhibition in 2016, Manju would remember that I was during my time sort of like going through the flea markets of Europe in London and all that, always sourcing and trying to look for IKAT samples. But we were also lucky that we had very good collaboration. And this is now from Ecuador.
Wow.
This is done in cochineal, but the traditional technique of the shawls, where at the end of it, it blends into the loose ends, and then into this kind of lace-like
Mhm.
features. They call it rebozo. And from Peru, we met our friend in Santa Fe International Folk Art Market, and Manju and I said, we must have a sample. And so the two of us, we took out our money and we jointly bought this piece for the exhibition, if you remember, Manju.
Yes.
And it's in wool and in its natural dye.
Wow.
This is a beautiful example again from Peru. But when we were in Iran for our World Crafts Council exhibition as well. And so we managed to find this Iranian lady who does this contemporary ikat.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. Very nice.
I mean, we are crazy when we're talking about ikat. We met this young couple from America, and then
Exactly. Yeah.
yeah, Dane and the young wife, and then we got them involved, and they came sponsored to our IKAT symposium in New Delhi with their contemporary IKAT. So it's wonderful also that at this WITS Baguio, we have examples of Dane's and Amanda's work on exhibition, 2 pieces. But a lady who is actually very prominent in doing contemporary IKAT from America, Dr. Wendy Weiss, she will
Oh,
be
yeah. She's
speaker.
coming.
But she herself is a contemporary weaver. So I hope that she brings some pieces to share with us when she comes as well. So it's wonderful. You get this blend of traditional works, which are important, representing their cultures, but you also have this group of contemporary expression of IKAT, which is represented in the symposium and at exhibition.
Okay, thank you very much for showing us those wonderful pieces for exhibition at the WITS Baguio. Uh, and also at the WITS Baguio, this will be a 4-day event which will have symposium. There's also a fashion show. And there's also an artisanal bazaar. So we are all excited also with the bazaar and also the Weave Exchange demo. So in the Weave Exchange, we have more than 81 or 100 weavers coming in around the world and around the Philippines also coming. Any thoughts about this? How was the Weave Exchange demo in the previous weeks? And then hopefully we can expect more exciting activities. And this will be held at the Winaka Farm, courtesy of NARDA. So this is a outdoor eco farm village where they have these traditional houses in place, and then there will be weavers also out there to share and do demonstrations on IKAT weaving. Any thoughts about this in the previous weeks? How was it conducted in the past, and what could be the advantage of this particular weave demo and weave exchange?
I think that many times the tradition comes into play in something like that. And they learn from each other. And there are certain nuances of the way of doing it, which are exchanged or seen while the person is doing it in front of you. So those are the kind of exchanges, I think, which will be important in the workshops that are planned for this particular event. And we have Rahul Salvi coming from Gujarat, and he would specifically be exchanging his way of doing it. And I think there is something in learning. You can't really teach it to anyone.
Yes.
You can
Yeah.
observe it, and these are observations, I think, that will come into play. What do you think, Edric?
Yeah, I think that first of all, I think, for example, the loom, the way in which they set up the loom is always different and similar. If it's a backstrap loom, just sitting on the floor, right? It is a backstrap loom which has different features across the islands of Southeast Asia and of mainland Asia. But what was interesting that, for example, if you find in the Philippines, when we were seeing how they were doing the abaca weaving, the tinalak, the way in which they stretch the loom in their very humble habitat that we visited is very interesting, right?
Mhm.
Of course, now our Iban weavers, they have devised a more portable kind of frame loom, which they put on the floor, and they can still dismantle and move it from place to place. But I was very excited to see Rahul and his father in London at SOES at the Brunei Gallery. They were there for a month, and they were two persons sitting on the same loom to weave. So I don't know how Rahul is going to manage it by himself.
Is it aligned together, seated together, or opposite sides?
Side by side, they
A
sit side.
side by side. Okay, that's amazing.
And also,
Um,
the room is a room full. We had to assign a room for them to set up their loom. It was so complicated, and it was taken all the way from India to London. And it was amazing that people who came to see it were so amazed with the way that they both worked in tandem.
Yes,
Amazing. That's
because
amazing.
like seeing the work in progress, I think. Many people know about IKAT, they know about Patola. It was very rare for a British interested person to come there and actually see it being woven. So it's the very same thing that when we come to Winaka at WITS Baguio, I think the energy of physically having all the weaving communities there is going to be extraordinary, Dr. Adeline. Congratulations to you. I mean, I
Oh,
know how you do it, Corditex, and how you're going to bring all these groups together and get the funding to bring them together at one place for this special occasion.
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Sir Edric and Ma'am Manjari. We also work with the team. So the WITS Baguio is also in collaboration with the Creative Baguio City Council, the local government of Baguio City. We have also partner institutions like the Department of Science and Technology. There's the Philippine Textile Research Institute in Manila, who generously gave funding to bring in all these weavers from Mindanao, from Luzon. So they were very generous with that. Also, the Department of Trade and Industry, who took care of our artisanal bazaar.
Mm.
And who else? The Department of Tourism. So I'm not just one, but of course we work with a whole lot of team. Also, we have universities. There are also private institutions who helped us, and of course the restaurants, no, feeding us, providing meals for the entire duration. That's important. And our venues, no, so the city provided for the Baguio Convention Center, and also Nardas for the Winaka Farm. So we have collectively worked on this as a group, as a team. So we are very pleased because this will be the first time that we are hosting this WITS in Baguio, and all that. So we are all excited. Meantime, you talk about this male weaver from India, who's a descendant of coming from this double ikat weaving. And in the Philippines, most of the weavers were women in the past. And just recently, there are now male weavers who are exploring this ikat weaving. What do you think about this gender relations now in terms of weaving? Are they mostly men and women or in tandem to work together? Is there a kind of division of labor with the kind of work? In Mindanao, we met very young male weavers from the Iranun group in Maguindanao. And we also met from Tiboli community. There are now male weavers that used to be abhorred by the community. It's like taboo because there are dream weavers, mostly women, because their deity, like the weavers' deity is Fudalu, female. So most of them are female weavers. Now, recently, there's a male weaver doing contemporary tinalak weaving. So, in your encounters with your ikat weaving communities, in your travels and in your research, what do you think about this gender or division of labor when it comes to ikat weaving?
Well, in India, I have to say that it is still quite male dominated. The tie-dye, which is the tying of the thread and all, is done by the women sometimes. And even that sometimes is by the men. But there are more and more women now coming into doing the weaving as well. But in the past, it was a male dominant sort of a thing. And in the Salvi family, for example, which is the Patan Patola, which is a double ikat, there were only men doing it. And even today, there are hardly any women who are involved, not even in the tie-dye, but in Orissa, there are some women now who are doing the thread dyeing, and also beginning to start doing the weaving of it. So yes, it is still, I would say, at least in India, a male dominant skill.
It's it's different here in the IBAN. It's again traditionally a women-dominated art, and it's known as that the weavers must have the dreams in order to allow them the permit to weave by their weaving goddess. But the male weavers who have started and are quite good in their community, they would have had their dreams as well. They would have sort of like the dream to say that they are permitted to weave. And then the weaving community themselves would, in a way, test them to see whether it's a real dream that you had or you just, cook it up. So they have to pass that test, and then they are initiated to say that, yes, you are okay to proceed to be a weaver. And then the master weavers would most of the time take them under their wings because they are relatives anyway. And then from there, they progress to become quite good weavers as well. In Uzbekistan, I would say that mainly the patterns are done by the men.
Yeah.
But after all the process of dyeing, then the actual weaving are done by the women. It's very
I
strange,
see.
you know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
men are not sitting there at the loom or standing there at the loom, but it is the women who are doing the actual weaving in
Oh,
Uzbekistan.
And
yeah.
that factory in Margilan where they make it, there are only women there. You know,
Yeah.
all processes are done by the women. As we,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, for in Tiboli, I know that weavers are not necessarily dream weavers. I mean, they still have a high regard to this master weavers who can dream and weave at the same time. But like maybe there are some weavers that don't have dream but can still weave by, learning by doing it in the community. So that's another kind of new way of learning how to weave in IKAT. Okay, so any other things that you want to share with us? Yes, Manjari?
Just one more thing that I wanted to say about the weaving, the Rahul Salvi who's coming to Baguio, is there is a piece which has been a title exhibition piece of ours, which is two large elephants in a procession with a Jain monk. Now, this is a very religious kind of a thing with a long story to it, which you will see when it'll be described in the piece. And the piece was woven by the Salvi family only in 2009. So it's an old story, which is about 300 or 400 years old, but it has been, and it's become one of our feature pieces in our exhibition in London, in all of them actually.
Yeah.
And it's
In
coming.
our culture, yeah.
Yes, it's coming to Baguio too. So those kind of pieces certainly are, and there again, there's male dominance, I'm sorry to say, but uh, the women, at least in India, are less and, now coming into it, but have not been, it's been male dominated so far.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah.
I think the other male weaver who's coming from Sumba in Indonesia, he's traveling together with Madam Mira Widiono, who is one of the speakers. He is a very wonderful master weaver from Sumba, and he really knows how to make very beautiful natural dye colors. And I think that he will be a good person to really ask him to do something special at the workshop so the others can see how he gets his wonderful colors for his cotton weaving.
Yeah, it's so vibrant. I saw some of his works. Beautiful.
Some of
Yeah.
them are huge pieces because they also like what they have in India from the Rahul Sarvi's double ikat, but this is wap ikat depicting festivals and ceremonies, in the Sumba tradition.
Yeah, how exciting. I wanted to ask, I'm just curious if you have also looked into this textile collections from 100 years ago in museums, because museums are also repositories of this traditional IKAT textiles. Like we have done in our Corditex project, we are exploring museums now to check these collections and then hopefully to digitally repatriate that. Have you done some efforts to look at these traditional IKATs around the world in museum repositories?
Well, I have when I first started my investigation or research on Iban textiles, because we've done since 1986 exhibitions on Iban textiles. The first Iban textile exhibition, which I curated and then I wrote the book on Dreamweavers. But after that, I traveled to see an important collection, the host collection in the at that time it was known as the Museum of Mankind, but it has been absorbed into the British Museum. And I knew somebody there, and then he took me to the vaults, if you like, to see the collection, which is from 1890, collected in
Very old.
1890. So I guess in a sense, our government, our state government probably are not so worried about repatriating these pieces to Sarawak, because within our own Sarawak Museum, we have quite nice collection as well. It's only when you think that there is something very rare and significant culturally that you would try to get it back. But otherwise, I think from my point of view, it's good to have a collection of IBAN IKATs in the British Museum, that if required, people can go there to refer, or when there is a special exhibition on IKATs, they can bring it out and be showcased. So in that sense, it's good to spread it around the world and not be so possessive of of IKAT of your own. It's good that other people know about your culture and your heritage.
Yeah, thank you so much. What about Manjari?
Well, in the museums, at least in India, we have, of course, a very good representation of the three types of IKATs that we have. One is from Gujarat, the other one is from Orissa, and the third one is from Telangana. And all three are very well represented. And with colonization, a lot of IKATs went to the British museums as well. And some of the very well-known pieces are there as well. So as with everything else, starting with, what do you call it, the crown jewels in the British crown, everything was taken and placed in the museums there. But as Edric and I have both talked about the exhibitions in different parts of, from different parts of the world, we have been actually selecting more than from museums, from weavers today. Santa Fe has been a big sort of place where we've picked up a lot of pieces from. And so like that. And then now whenever we go anywhere in the world, we are looking for IKAT, in some form or the other. I found some pieces of French ribbons in San Francisco, in one of the shops, which then I brought to the collection. So like that, we're continuously exposing ourselves to more and more.
Yeah.
But I want to add one thing. I think that we in the London exhibition, we had actually our first option was to get a collection of Uzbek chapans and beautiful textiles from a private collector in Bukhara, right, who had agreed to loan us his pieces. But when it came the time to try to get it to London, there was difficulty because he could not get it out of the country because there were restrictions of heritage pieces in your own country. It's a long process of getting permits. So we were saying, oh my goodness, what are we going to do? We've got this gap. We've got this one small hall, which is dedicated to the Uzbek IKATs. But I think it's a blessing in disguise, because instead of getting that, we managed to find a major collector in London, the Karun collection, who had beautiful pieces that he had purchased from antique shops in Istanbul, for example. Pieces that had left the country before all these regulations came in. So then we had such wonderful pieces exhibited of Uzbek IKATs from Karun in London.
That's wonderful.
But
So
which is interesting is that I think, and I think it should be encouraged more and more. For example, the Salvi family, they have established their own museum. The Patola Museum in Patan is set up entirely by the Salvi family with their own budget and operated as a private museum. So there you go, and they have kept their own heritage pieces that is being shown, and then you can go and find out how double IKAT is woven in their own museum.
Including the fact that Rahul Salvi himself is an architect who's been responsible for putting together that museum.
amazing.
You will see many aspects of him when he comes to you.
Amazing. We all look forward to meeting Rahul when he comes to Baguio. Yeah,
Yeah.
so the WITS also have this documentaries, and also we have a book nook at the World IKAT. So we will be putting all together this book collection from the university to put it there. And also we just received some books from David Pally on the Global IKAT. So we'd like to join our viewers to see that book nook on World ICAT book collection as well. So if you have some books you would like to include, then we can also put it there. Okay, my next question is about do you have already an like an idea where will the next WITS be in the coming year? Have you thought about this or still in the brew?
I would like to say to you, aapke muh mein ghee shakkar, which means that may there be sweets in your mouth when you say that, because we are always looking for a place where the next exhibition should be. And we are very thankful to your country and your department and all you people who've been involved with it to bring it to Philippines. It's been a dream of ours, but we couldn't have done it without you. And so the next one, let's see what spins off. Edric, do you have any ideas?
Uh, we have been discussing about it because, for example, in Magellan in Uzbekistan, right? They have a biannual IKAT festival because this is the city for IKAT in Uzbekistan.
Yeah.
So Mr. Aziz Murtazaev, who is the World Crafts Council Asia Pacific president, he himself has an IKAT weaving setup. So we were discussing about the possibility of WITS going to Magellan in Uzbekistan in 2 years' time.
Oh,
Now,
yeah.
this is a biennale. So hopefully in 2 years' time, the next destination that we'll all go upon on the Silk Road will be the WITS in Uzbekistan.
That's very far from Philippines, but we'll try our best to, raise the funds and also bring in some Filipino master weavers, no, ikat weavers in two
Weavers.
years' time. You have to
But,
see.
it's wonderful that at least three of them are coming from Uzbekistan. There are two
Yeah.
speakers, and then Mr. Aziz himself. And then the fashion designer. So you have to reciprocate, and now you don't go on a camel, you fly.
Yeah.
Now that we are holding hands, this hand has to be held for a long time.
Yeah.
Indeed. Yeah, thank you so much. So it's already almost 11 o'clock. So maybe do you have some last words to invite our audience? Because our team have developed the website for the World ICA Textile Symposium. We have a website. There's also a Facebook page dedicated to World ICA Textile Symposium. All the information is there, how to register, the program of events and others. And we also have this Corditex website. You can also find the link to go to this talk and also to our invitations to our audience. And I forget to mention there's also a book launching of the book by Nardas, about Nardas, ikat weaving also, that will be launched at the Winaka farm on the last day before the bonfire. So there will be, I think it's 3 o'clock, then bonfire is around 5. So there will be a launch of this wonderful book about Narda. So it's high time because she is also one of the key innovators on ikat weaving in the Cordillera. We have traditional ikat, but I think Nardas was the one who really pushed for innovation on ikat weaving. So
Yes.
any last words, or you want to say something before we end the webinar?
It is amazing how the entire world comes together with this one fabric. The process of dyeing, and weaving is the same everywhere. What changes is the yarn, cotton, silk, banana fiber, grass. together with the color combination and the formation of motifs that gives IKAT from each country a distinctive touch. And I think that is what we've come to celebrate in your exhibition.
Thank you, Anjari. Sir Edric?
I think that the very fact that it is happening in Baguio is really a milestone. Firstly, because it is also fulfilling your role as the UNESCO Creative City for Folk Art and Craft.
Mhm.
But more and more, I think, in the world of tourism, right? The catchword at the moment for this year and I think maybe the coming years is craft tourism.
Mm.
People are looking at specialized tours, and people are like us. We have become what they call IKAT groupies. We will travel where there's IKAT to look for IKAT and textiles and other specialties. So it's wonderful to see how then um, everything comes together as a package, right? You travel. Many people travel because they want to look for special food to eat and look for the Michelin star restaurants and all that. So we in the world of textiles, we travel because we want to look for the special ikat weave. And so we're coming to Baguio because and to the Philippines, we've got a special tie that binds.
That binds. Yes. In addition, you mentioned about food, looking for food and IKAT at the same time. I think our local government of Baguio and the Creative Council of Baguio City have prepared a food crawl on the third day, I think. So I think on the third day, there's an afternoon of free time. So they
Yes.
can also go to a food crawl around the city of Baguio. Uh, Also going towards Bencab Museum.
Yes.
There's a food crawl happening also at
Ah,
that. Yeah.
okay.
So now the partners in crime, which are Edric, Elaine, and Manju, are coming to you with the message of IKAT.
Yes. Thank you so much. We have an audience. I wonder if there are questions from our participants in the audience. You can just type in your questions and if you have some more information. Okay.
I
I
think
think
the fashion show is going to be very exciting too. My fashion designer, Melinda Omar, showed me some photos of your beautiful models and say, Edric,
oh
look, this was going to be parading for us. I said, wow, are they beauty queens?
yeah, most of them are participated in beauty competition. So I hope it will give justice to the ikat that will be worn, your designs.
Because I know that from the lineup, you've got fashion designers from Indonesia, Malaysia, India, Uzbekistan, Kazakhstan, and the Philippines itself.
And
So it's
Laos.
and Laos.
Now,
Yeah. Hong
Oh,
Kong is
oh,
coming.
Kong Tong is also bringing.
Yeah.
Okay, wonderful. So it's going to be exciting.
Okay, so I think that's it for this webinar. We would like to thank Sir Edric and, of course, Manjari for this wonderful webinar, very informal, and to share this information and knowledge about IKAT. And also, we are looking forward to meeting you again in the World IKAT Textile Symposium in Baguio in a week's time. On December 3 to 6,
Yeah.
arriving on the 2nd of December, I think, no, right? Or November 30 for us, for you, to curate the exhibition coming up soon. So thank you very much for your time and wonderful knowledge being shared to us this morning.
thank
Thank
you.
you, my dears.
Salamat
Bye.
po.
See you
Thank
soon.
you.
Mabuhay.
Mabuhay. Salamat.
I need to learn that.
Salamat. It's the same with Indonesian. Salamat data. Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you.
Okay, thank you. See you soon.
Bye.
Bye.